Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This has been more trouble than it should have been. So I've got the latest firmware from HDZero that they released. Not beta, actually released. And supposedly fixes the 1080p bugs that we had with the stuttering and stuff, and with the frame rate and all that kind of stuff. Well, I went through a big bunch of hassle after doing it where it didn't act like the firmware was taking correctly and it was still recording incorrectly. Flew it felt fine. Much better with not having the stutter, much better on breakup, all that kind of stuff, but the recording was still recording like at 50 frames a second, which is not what it's supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be recording at 60 frames a second. You're seeing it in 30 FPS. They're basically doubling the frames, I think, and giving you 60 FPS. Well, went through a bunch of hassle. I'm not going to go through all the ins and outs of what I did. At this point, I'll do that at the end. I'll give you all the details on what I did to get this working correctly, so you'll have that. I just want to fly it a little bit and see how it is proximity flying here. I flew it around the house a little bit in the evening, and it was definitely much better. It was at night even, and it was definitely much better, and I was able to do some proximity flying around the house, and it was all good. It was just the frame rate was wonky when it was recording. So anyways, I want to fly a bit now that I've got it recording correctly, and I've got stick cam recording, so I'll have that, and just kind of want to give you all my impressions as I'm flying it around, what I think about it. And then at the end here, I'll come back and I'll give you a breakdown on what I did to get this working, the trouble that I had to go through. Now, hopefully they get these kinks worked out and we don't have these little weirdo problems. But you know, I'm not knocking it. You know, it's very much a headache. Hopefully we get this stuff worked out to where the masses can do this much easier and not have all the trouble that I had. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, let's get to flying, and I'll give you my impressions here. Oh, and if you see break up whenever I'm close to the camera or whatever, yeah, whatever. I don't think it's doing it now though. I don't know why. Anyways. Okay, so definitely feels slow. You can definitely feel that it's not, you know, fast. That's for sure. I don't feel the weird stutter that I was feeling before. Breakup seems to be better, just in general. Still feels kind of weird. Still doesn't feel exactly like 30, but maybe that's just because I'm so used to a higher frame rate when flying. I don't know. It definitely feels weird on doing those, and it's not smooth. Like, there's not a nice blurred feeling. It's kind of a jittery feeling, not the stutter that we had before. That's different. It's just this weird jitter that as you're coming around there, the frames where they're changing slower, feels odd. Like I can't do, like there it was fine, but that's because I kind of like came over and then I kind of paused for just a second to kind of let my eyes and the camera kind of catch up to the image. When you've got a fast changing image, it gets to be a little weird. I'm starting to adjust to it here now though. It's definitely different, that's for sure. Not too bad. It's way better than it was, I'll say that. But those really fast maneuvers, the slower updates, or the slower frame rate definitely impacts you on doing that kind of stuff. But like cruisy type stuff, not bad. Still feels a little weird, but not like Not like it was. So I'm not sure. Don't think I would fly this typically. But it don't feel like it did before, where I felt like I was just guessing when I was flying. So in that respect, it's definitely better than it was. Is this something that I would fly for proximity? God, no. Definitely not. But for like light proximity, might be all right. You can get used to it, I think, once you kind of adapt. I think you could adapt to it. The clarity's way better. That's for sure. So you could see smaller things better, smaller branches, that kind of thing. So let me go over to where my battery's going to be screaming at me in a minute. Where's that one tree at? I can see this tree way better in 1080 than I can in 720. I can actually see the little branches and stuff there when I'm flying around. Whereas in the other one, it's kind of blind a bit on that one. Alright, so let's land here before my battery screams at me too much. And then we'll fly one more. Okay, this is pack number 2. We'll see if I'm getting more adjusted to it after flying the first one and now on my second one. And we'll see how it goes. Wasn't too bad. Definitely slower. Definitely not something I would recommend for proximity flying. But for like cruisy stuff, might be alright. I'm still not convinced of that. I think it might be better in the evening when you got just a little bit less light, and so the shutter is going to slow a little bit and you're going to get a little bit of a blur. I think that will help the 30 FPS, and I think I will do that this evening. I will go to my little tree spot when it's getting later in the evening, and we'll fly another one, and we'll see how that is. And I will include that after this, and you guys can see how that looks, and you can get my impressions then with it. So let's go ahead and fly this one. We'll come back. I'll give you my rundown on all the headaches, and then I will close it out with a flight at my little tree spot, and we'll call it at that, and hopefully you guys enjoy this. So here we go. All right. Yeah, starting to feel a little more normal. Just kind of cruise it around a little bit here. See, I can see that tree way better. In this mode. Try not to do too crazy. I don't want to crash. I want to keep my props pristine, keep my rig pristine. But I also want to give you a little bit of tighter proximity type stuff too, so you can see that it is possible to do, and definitely adjusting to it. Oh, I saved it, didn't mess it up. Okay, good deal. Oh, I can hear that prop though, it's angry. I did bend my prop a little bit, dang it. I was hoping to keep my prop pristine, but that's alright. That was a little tight. I want to give you those little flicky moves there. Let's see, now we got to do. Let's see here, and then. Ooh. Ooh, yeah, nice. Okay, it's not too shabby. Now we'll give you a slow cruise around here. Ooh, got a dog over there. Better land. Don't want to scare the doggy. Don't want to scare the doggy. Alright, so now I'll give you my rundown. I'll go back to the garage. I'll give you my rundown on the ins and outs and all the headache that I went through to get this working correctly. And then we'll close out with some flying at the tree spot this evening. So, see you in the garage. Okay, so I got these goggles updated with the latest firmware, like I said, and like you've seen flying from, but it was not an easy road. Definitely should be an easier road than it was. And it wasn't so much the updating process as it was getting it to properly take, if you will. And I'm not sure what the right term is. I don't know if it's just some weird problem with the setting that gets saved wrong or something like that. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. I'm not going to try to speculate. I'm not going to try to figure out if there's what the issue is. I'm just going to kind of give you a rundown on what it took to get it fixed. Okay, so to update this, in my particular case, I have the batch 1 goggles. And I had already updated them previously with the OS and the boot for the goggle. So my first attempt, according to the documentation, was I didn't need to do that because I already had the version that had the correct OS and boot, and all I needed to do was update the app, the goggle app itself. So I tried that first. Did that, that all went smooth. Everything seemed to be fine as far as the update goes. Nothing seemed to be off with it. But what I did notice was the OSD was kind of weird. And it has this weird look to it. It doesn't look like it's showing the correct resolution of the files for the OSD elements. Betaflight and the HDZero ones at the top there with the reception and all that kind of stuff. So that didn't look right to me. But so I recorded DVR with it, and then after recording DVR, went back, looked at the footage, and I thought at the time that I was actually getting 60 frames a second, but it turns out I actually wasn't. But the interesting thing was the DVR recorded the OSD elements nice and crisp and sharp. They all look good. So okay, I think that's a bug, so I'm on the Discord server, and I seem to be the only one who's experiencing this, or so it seems. Turns out later, there was actually more people who were experiencing the same problem. They just didn't realize it or didn't notice it or whatever, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, so had that problem. So on there trying to figure out, about that, come to find out some other people were having problems saying that it was recording at 50 frames a second. I was like, no, it's recording 60 frames a second for me. I just got this OSD problem. Well, I decided to go back and check it again, and when I did, this time I actually realized that it was actually 50 frames a second. I was looking at the wrong thing, and I was thinking that it was 60 frames a second, and it actually wasn't. It was actually 50 frames a second. So I was like, great, now I've got that problem. So went through a bunch of reflashing, right? And all of that headache, and nothing seemed to be working. So then finally, I did this flash procedure from one of the users on there. What to say, CJ for short, because I can't remember. He has a long username. Anyways, I'll say CJ because I know it's the first 2 letters. Anyways, he gave a process where you basically you put all 3 files on there, the one for the app, the one for the OS, the one for the boot. You do the update like you normally would. Then you reboot. You wait this 1 minute like you're supposed to. You reboot, you wait 4 minutes like you're supposed to, you reboot, and then you keep rebooting until this one beep that you have at the beginning goes away. So I did that, and went, checked my footage, and the footage was still 50 frames a second. But the thing that I noticed with it was that it had this weird, it wasn't recording in the right resolution, like it was 1920 by 1080, but it was like cropped in. So it was something different. Before it had been, everything had been looking right, but it didn't have this weird cropped in thing. And so he's like, oh yeah, Ron said if you get that, then switch it to 720, 16:9 full mode, record something, then switch it back, and it should be good. So I did that, and the footage was even worse. It was like, it was recording all of it, but it was cropped, like the size of it was like in this little corner, but the file was huge, and there was like all this green background space around it. So I was like, okay, that's weird. I'm gonna record it one more time. So I went back and I went and I turned off the OSD this time because I had it on, and tried it again, and it was all good. Oh yeah, one other thing that I did, I turned on manual recording as part of this process because he said he was doing that, and I turned it from TS to MP4. So the basic gist of it breaks down like this. You put all three files, the app file for the goggles, the OS file, the boot file, onto your goggle SD card, freshly formatted, in the goggles. Put those three files on there, put it into the goggles, go down, do the update goggles. It's going to go through, it's going to update, it's going to tell you to reboot. It'll give you like a little green thing, success, reboot. So you reboot it. It's going to beep. Wait 1 minute from that point. Power it off, power it back on. It's going to beep. Wait 4 minutes from that point. Power it off, power it back on. It's going to beep. Just keep waiting. It's going to take forever for it to start up. It may beep another time. Once it gets all the way to the menu, power it off, power back on, and continue that cycle until you don't have any beeps until you get to the menu. And then once you do that, power it off one more time, power back on, then go in, connect up your drone, get your video coming in on 1080, and then switch it to, take that back one step. Go in, change your setting to record MP4 and manual recording. Then hook your drone up, get it in there in the goggles, put it onto 720, 16:9 full, record something, stop recording, go back to your menu for your camera, set it to 1080p 30, record something, stop recording, and then power off your drone, power your drone back on, come back in, record something again 1080p manually, and then stop recording, and you should have 60 frames a second. And then from that point on, you should get 60 frames a second. Now, I don't know what happens if I go changing the modes again. I haven't done that. I will find that out later to see if it screws it up. And if it does, I'll put an addendum. Well, either way, I'll put an addendum at the end of this, either way, to give you a breakdown of what happens. So what we're going now is we're going to go fly this evening at my tree spot, and I want to see if the footage looks a little better in the goggles when you have a little bit slower shutter because of the lower light conditions. The DVR looks nice in the recording. 60 frames a second, it looks silky smooth, I love it. Breakup is way better than before, way better. So that's a big plus. There's still a little bit here and there, but it's normal breakup that I've seen before. So that's way better. So we're going to go to that tree spot, we're going to try that out, and then see how that footage looks, and then I am going to try switching it to 720 and then switching it back, and then make sure that fly it with 720, record that, and then switch it back to 1080, record that, and see if they're both in 60 frames a second, if they both look correct. That'll be the real test to see if this is really fixed or not. And then if it is, you will know, and I will wrap all of it up. So let's go out and fly at the tree spot, and we'll see how the rest of this goes. Alright guys, so let's fly a little at the tree spot and see how 1080 works with the tree spot in the evening. Hopefully get a little bit slower shutter, and we'll see if it kind of smooths the video out. I'm kind of curious to see. I've got several packs. We'll fly a couple of them here and we'll see how it's going to work out. He's pretty sunset. Let's see how this looks here. Well, it looks about the same. Definitely different. Feels weird, that's for sure. Not terrible, but you can definitely feel the slowness. As you can see, about ended up in the top of that tree. That could have been bad. I will say this though, man, I can see really good though. Way better than I could see with the 720 even. The detail and stuff I can see a lot better, and I can see better like in the shadowy areas, I think, even maybe. I think it might be the slower shutter giving me a little more light maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, I can see like the detail of those dead orange trees over there way better than I could see them before, which is kind of cool to be able to make out the details on those a bit more than I could before. Breakup's not too bad, although it could be better, that's for sure, but it's not terrible. Definitely can see the details a lot better though, which is nice. It's really nice for that. And you can still do stuff where you need to be a little more agile on the sticks. It's just a little different. It's definitely not ideal, that's for sure. But it's not the worst, I don't think. Somebody said the 1080, the last video I did, they commented recently, they said it kind of looked like to them, like what they experienced doing the 4K 30 on the 03. But I don't think you actually get 4K in the goggles, but you get the 30 frames a second to get the 4K recording. And so that was kind of what they thought. It was kind of like it was really slow, really hard to fly. And I think it's probably true. This might be a little better than that, I don't know. I've not flown that, so I can't compare it for sure. But I mean, this is flyable. It's just not the easiest to fly. The slowness definitely affects you. Things come up on you a little quicker than you might realize. And it's not latency, it's just the slower, where the frames come in slower. Definitely like being able to see a little better, that's for sure, on the details, that kind of stuff. But also, you get a little more, a little brighter maybe, like in some of the shadows, I think, which is kind of interesting. Wasn't really expecting that, but I guess that kind of makes sense, being a little bit lower. Although I'm not really sure how this thing works with frame rate and, you know, how a regular camera does stuff. Like, I know lower FPS gives you a little more light because the camera's processing stuff slower. I don't know all the details. I'm not no camera person, so I don't know about all that, but I do know that I can see better though. More detail, and it's brighter, which is kind of cool. I wasn't expecting the brighter, I was expecting the more detail. Ooh, that was a little weird. Got messed up there. The slower frame rate definitely impacts you. That is for sure. Definitely impacts you. It's not recommended for, like, this is like perfect though. Like this type of flying right here. That's nice. It'll do that stuff. That's nice. Like this low, fast, cruisy stuff. I love it for this. This is cool. But for that quick stuff, I don't know. It's a little. No, the lighting change is a little slow there on that one. More than I'm used to. Ooh, a little break up there. Getting out that way a little bit. It kind of makes me fly slower almost. I don't know, it's weird. Which is kind of cool and different. Alright, let's go ahead and bring this one in. We'll do one more, I guess. I'm enjoying this though. It's fun. Alright. Bring her in. Let's try this again. Cruise the treetops there. Cruise it down a little here. Which is nice for this. Yeah, this fast cruising stuff is awesome with this. This is nice for this. Get the blur on that one. And I did that. Ooh, that was so close. You can definitely feel the slow frame rate when you start doing those quick snappy things. Man, I love how I can see those. So nice. Alright, just gonna bring this thing in, I guess. Alright, time to land, Stacy. You're enjoying this way too much. That was nice. Nice, nice, nice. Alright. Hope you guys enjoyed hanging out. This is definitely fun to fly this kind of a spot in the evening. It's definitely different. I don't know if I recommend it for everybody, but it definitely has a fun aspect to it. Overall, pretty happy with this now. It's not too shabby. It's not something I'll use all the time, but in certain cases I think I will use it. Probably the majority of the time I'll run the 720p 60. I think that'll probably be my go-to for the vast majority of stuff. But an evening cruise, definitely the 1080 is nice. Man, you can definitely see better. Lower light, definitely better. There's a few aspects of the change that's a little slow, but if your lighting changes aren't drastically quick, it's not too shabby. You can definitely see better. I could see all the detail in those trees a whole lot better, even in the shadowy area, which was kind of cool. Wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to see the details better, but it was brighter, I think. Maybe that's a placebo, I don't know. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed hanging out, and you enjoyed this flying, and hanging out with me doing this 1080p stuff. Let me know what you think. What do you think about it? You think it's a worthwhile mode to have? You think it's useful? What do you think it's useful for? Let me know. And I'm sure we'll continue to see some improvements and some refinements in it, which will be good. OSD definitely needs a little bit of work. It's got a funky look to it right now. You can read it, but it's not crisp and clean like it used to be. So they've got a bug there or something they got to work out. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Till next time, never stop flying.